Long, long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, an out-of-work, over-the-hill disc jockey thought he could do television. The joke was on him.
Vision presents live from the studios of WELM and Continental Cable. It's the Jazz McKay Show. Tonight, join Jazz and his fabulous babes, Shay and Michelle, as they welcome Mike Miller of the Libertarian Party and me. I'm Kim Miller. Oh! And now, here's a man who insists Michael Jackson's next hit record will be a remake of Elton John's Don't Let Your Son Go Down on Me. Of course, he can on me, but anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, call the police. It's Jazz McKay. Ow!
Good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday night in East Lansing, and that means one thing and one thing only. It's time for the Jazz McKay Show. It's 11 o'clock. Jeez, oh, Pete's actually running late here. It's 11:04, according to my watch, because my watch is on spaz time, so it's off just a little bit. Hey, did you guys hear about the two lesbians and the two fags that had a race from New York City to San Francisco? You know who won? Ask me who won. Well, the lesbians did, of course. They got their lickety-split. Yeah, the fags were still home packing their shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Ow!
Yeah, I'm just trying to contribute as much as possible to Clinton's new health care plan by smoking as many cigarettes as I can. Let's bring over my co-host. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our new co-host, Kim Miller! Yeah! Hello. Yeah, as... get leveler, darling. As always, things always change. It just seems like we had Jimmy Tickle here for a while. First, we had Steve Green, right? He was at MMQ for a while, and then when Steve was given the ultimatum, either you work at MMQ or you work on Jazz's show, Steve, of course, took...
And he picked MMQ?
Picked MMQ, and then they fired his ass. So then Jimmy came on board, and Jimmy was here for a while, and unfortunately for Jimmy, or I should say for us, really, or for Jimmy, as the case may be. Jimmy's gotten a paying job, folks. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Jimmy Tickle has even as we speak, Jimmy is working.
Where is he working?
I have no idea, but it's somewhere that pays over $7 an hour.
Cool.
Yeah,
probably Myers.
It doesn't involve, I know this much, it doesn't involve selling perfume.
Really?
Or vacuum cleaners.
Gosh,
So,
it's moving up.
He's moving up. What do you think of this new health care plan?
Well, I think...
What do you think of Clinton's
I don't
new
have
healthcare
insurance,
plan?
so I'm all for it.
Are you working?
I work about 5 part-time jobs, and I have no insurance.
Well, there you go.
I'm one of those freelance videographer, producer people that I have to pay everything in cash. So.
But what I don't like is this crap about charging us an extra $1 for a pack of cigarettes. That's what we're getting down. I thought it was going to be $2, so I guess maybe it's not only 50% as bad as I thought it would
I'm
be.
a non-smoker, so...
Well, yeah, but you still should support my right to smoke.
However, this $175 billion in healthcare costs caused by people making poor choices. And I make a lot of them.
Now when somebody tells me to put a cigarette out when I'm sitting in Denny's having breakfast, I'll just tell them, fuck you, I'm paying for your goddamn health insurance. Let's bring over our fabulous babes. Shay and Michelle are here tonight, yeah!
Ow!
You know, I was telling you to get leveler, and I didn't even have myself levelored. I better get my microphone on. Let's see if I can make a lot of noise with this. I'm sure that the sound man Tony's in there going absolutely nuts. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Shay's having a birthday today. How old are you now, 16? Huh? 16 now? Is that right? 16 now? And Shay got, see, Shay's old man Scott gave her this. And so this guy's joining us on the show tonight. Wait a minute, I want to show you this. See, look at this. This is sort of a biker pig, see? And it's Go Hog Wild on your birthday. That's real cute. But look here on the back. What is it? Born to be bacon. Is that great? How much did that set you back, Scott?
$20.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
$20 for this. Should I? No, I can't do that. I'm not that nasty. We've got our special guest coming on in just a few moments. He's going to be here to talk about politics. Something that we don't talk about a whole lot on this show. We're going to talk about We're going to talk about a party that, the party that we're talking about is the Libertarian Party. And how many people are familiar with the Libertarian Party in here? One, I see one hand, but, we can't hear you. Anybody in here familiar with Libertarians? Not too many people know a lot about the Libertarian Party. They're into drugs and prostitutes and guns. That's my kind of party. Yeah! Yeah, give me some automatic weapons and some hookers, buddy. We've got Mike Miller on the show tonight, and we're going to talk to him about all sorts of things that you may not be aware of that the Libertarian Party stand for. And actually, a lot of the old myths, like I just gave you, will probably be dispelled to a certain extent tonight. Also, we'll talk about the Wacko and Waco. We've got some rare footage that you've never seen before because CNN refused to run it, and some of the other news organizations as well. Now, Kim, before we get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about your show. You got a show. What's it called?
MTR TV.
MTR
it's been
TV.
On cable here since 1988.
When is it on here in East Lansing?
Well, usually like Fridays or Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. And in Lansing I think they're putting on at like 9:30 on Fridays.
Is it a dirty video show or?
No, it's like there's music videos, interviews, a lot of like little documentaries and that sort of thing. We do have Lori on there, of course.
Lori,
and, yes.
Fart Girl. How many people remember in
Fart
the old
Girl.
Jazz and Tim show, Fart Girl? You guys remember that at all? That was Lori, who's your partner on the show.
And she has a character with a band, and she's like the little backstage groupie, and she puts knee pads on.
What do you mean character? That's her.
Well, no,
That's
she's
Kim in
not
the
a
full.
groupie.
That's
no.
Kim in the full. Come on.
Totally, no.
No, come on.
We just do what we want to do. We don't.
That's both of you in the full. You're both. Look at you. Look at the rock and roll hairstyle here. And big old.
I know. I got to get rid of the
Here, you need to
poofiness, though.
Do the. Yeah, there we go. There,
Can
now
we
we're
zoom
talking.
in as a goat?
We were going to hook up the booby cam tonight to Kim's boobs, but we put the little. It's one of these little miniature cameras, and you put it in there, and it got lost. It
Down
just sort
there
of
somewhere.
fell down in there. So we had to nix, as it were, the booby cam. Anyway, we got film clips from your show.
Yeah.
Is that right?
We're having our 5-year anniversary this year.
When?
We're gonna have a party, and we've got narrowed down to 2 clubs, and we've got about 6 bands, and we're going to have
Narrowed it down to 2
one
clubs.
big party. Yeah.
And now it's just a matter of which one gives you the free drinks, right?
Well, we're right now. It's all the logistics are being worked out, so it's going to be great.
6
We're going to do a
bands.
5-year.
You gonna get White
show.
Zombie to come out?
I know them.
Could you call them?
Yes,
Tell them I
call
think they're
right
the
now.
greatest undiscovered heavy metal thrash band in the world.
We discovered them a year ago. We had them on our show.
Yeah, I found the CD at a radio station on Guam, like stuck underneath a whole bunch of Paul Harvey newscasts, and I was like, hey, this is cool. And it's a great CD.
They're a real good
It's
band.
taken a long time for
Lori
that thing to
knows
break.
every word by heart, and she can. I mean, she's
It's kind of like me with Guar.
kind of like
Yeah.
that. It's that deranged. You two have something in common here. I'd like to put you both on the show, and you do Guar, and then her do White Zombie. It'd be
Sort
great.
of a MTV lip syncing thing. Let's take a look at a clip I believe that we have queued up of
MTR.
MTR, which
Empty
stands
television. No.
MTR is
Metal to rock. Because we don't have thrash.
It's
so
not. Yeah, she's
it's-
against that.
I'm not against it. It's just for morons. So.
Huh?
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 Huh? It's true.
No, it's not. Come on, give me
Oh,
a
I'm
break.
such a snob, aren't I?
You are, man. You rock and rollers make me sick. Let's run a tape of MTR TV. This is Kim Miller's show.
Little
This is
intro.
broadcast right here on cable. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Chastity,
And I'm Chance, and we're from the band Ceremony
and you're about to watch our new music video, Could Have Been Love.
on MTR TV.
What I got, you got to give it to your mama. What I got, you got to give it to your papa. What I got, you got to give it to your doctor. You do a little dancing and you drink a little water. What I got, you gotta get it, put it in you. What I got, you gotta get it, put it in you. What I got, you gotta get it, put it in you. Feeling with the feeling, don't stop, continue. I realize I don't wanna be.
Yeah. Yeah. MTR.
It says thrash in the title. But
Yeah, what's
We
that
never-
about? Don't like thrash
we kind of
music.
inherited the name.
From who?
My partner started the show a long time ago.
then you just kinda-
And we work with more alternative, more. you know, we work with some classic rock musicians, and we work with real musicians like Satriani, Steve Vai.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
but,
real
but not
musicians.
that crap like that thrash music stuff.
Well, we've had Pantera on the show,
Not that.
Corrosion of Conformity,
no,
White
not
Zombie.
Pantera, not you. Come
We
on, you don't like
handpicked,
thrash
though.
music, man.
Well, I like, they were good friends of mine, so.
My name is
handpicked
Mud.
them. I'm working with Primus next week.
Are you?
Yep, I'm working with Primus and Living Color. Yeah.
Living Color bores me. If it weren't for was it Fishbone? Fishbone, right?
yeah.
If it weren't for Fishbone, there'd be no Living Color. But nobody knows that. Fishbone was around long before Living Color
Yeah, they
was.
were.
Long before. Black guys playing rock and roll. Remember the Bus Boys? No, so you
No.
don't. So you don't know your black guys playing white music very well. But watch your show. It's really cool. It's on Friday nights and maybe Tuesday nights, and we
Just
don't know
check the
exactly what
listing.
time. And
It's-
it's like on 56 on some nights, and it's on
Yeah.
37 and Continental on some nights. But look for it. Check it out when you're finally sick of this new television season. I did watch Bakersfield PD tonight for the first time, and that was a great show. That was
I saw
funny
part of
as
it.
hell.
It was
It
pretty
was
funny.
funny. It was really
Yeah.
good. Excellent program. Do we have another clip from your show that you wanted to watch?
Well, we have one clip from the 1992 Lollapalooza. We just kind of hung out with our camera and went to all the booths and did a little montage, a little Grateful Dead sort of feel to it. So it's kind of a
So we're gonna
little
see
different.
Kim and you and Lori are in this. I hope.
I don't remember. We've got bikers in it. I know I'm in it.
Cool. Are you naked?
No. That tape's at home. That's a good tape. You gotta see
Yeah,
that
it
one.
is. I
Yeah.
produced that one. Let's take a look at the Lollapalooza '92 from MTR TV and Kim Miller.
Yeah.
Hello, Cosmo didn't mean to go astray. Took life too serious, began to slip away. Almost conform to expectations of the mass. Need to relax a while and lie down in the grass.
We're here with Lollapalooza in Pine Knob with Rock the Vote, nationwide organization concerned about getting people 18 to 20 something registered to vote and going in this next election. If you want to get involved or get information from Rock the Vote, you can write to them at Department STC 0792, Post Box 76867, Los Angeles, California 90076, 0867. October 5th, 1992 is the deadline. You have to get registered to vote before then if you want to vote either way in this next presidential election.
Hello, Cosmo didn't mean to go astray.
My name is Pamela Schiffman, and we're on the Lollapalooza tour, and I'm with the Michigan Abortion Rights Action League, MARAL. MARAL is the pro-choice arm of the political arm of the pro-choice movement here in Michigan. We're working to keep abortion safe, legal, and available for all women in the state of Michigan. We do this by electing pro-choice candidates to statewide and national office, and by getting people involved in the political process. If you'd like to get involved with MARAL, please call us at our office. The number is 313-827-4550, and we can give you more information.
Yeah. Where was that at this year?
That was Pine Knob. That was actually 92 because the 93 Lollapalooza was in a racetrack, and I refused. I just refused.
You're not going to go to a
sit-
racetrack. What's wrong with
No
you?
way.
Man,
I
you
gotta
are
sit
picky.
backstage and drink margaritas and.
What's wrong with the backstage at a racetrack?
Such a brat. Oh, it's a pain. It's like mud and
Yeah.
no.
You
I'm
sure?
getting too old for that. I need.
By the way, is the audio okay on Kim? Because I'm not sure. Because like the microphone might need to be adjusted. I don't know. Hey, how's that sound? How does this sound? Does this sound okay?
We're getting a little reverb.
Is that all right?
A little bit of echo
Is that
down
okay?
there.
All right. We have a phone call, I understand, Somebody hanging on wants to talk to us. Hello, you're on the air with Jazz McKay.
Hello.
Whoa, jeez.
A little too much feedback there?
No, man, it's perfect. For a change, I can actually hear the caller. What's your name, bud?
I'm John.
John, what can we do you for tonight, man?
I just had a couple comments about the Libertarian Party. I'm kind of a hardcore conservative.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to be cut off here, but I just do not believe anything that the Libertarian Party stands for. I think if they follow through with what they believe, our country will just be run into the ground worse than it already is.
Okay, John, give me one specific that you really think is the worst thing that they stand for.
Drug legalization.
Okay. Now, you are familiar, of course, being a conservative, that Alexander Haig, who is an ultra-right-wing conservative, and also Buckley, William F. Buckley, have called for the legalization of drugs.
Well, they've called for the legalization of marijuana, not drugs in general.
Uh-huh.
I mean, marijuana is one thing, but heroin, cocaine is just something that these young people are too immature to handle. Older people, by their maturity, hey, if they can sit back, take a shot, take some coke, that's one thing. But you get these kids, and they're just going to go out and act crazy and just cause more problems.
You smoke pot, John?
No, I don't, but I don't.
But you used to, didn't you?
No, honestly, I haven't, but I don't take offense to people that do.
Well, good for you. At least you're open-minded to a certain degree, and that's what's important.
When are you going to get with that blow-up pig?
You want me to get with the blow-up pig? Come here, boy. He's just about the right size, don't you think? Thanks for calling, John. Take care, buddy. Let's bring on our guest for tonight from the Libertarian Party. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mike Miller.
Hi.
How are you? Yes. Now, Kim, I know you're new at this, hon, so I'm going to need you to move down there to the Ed McMahon seat. And we're going to put Mike in right up front here. So Mike can do the mic testing for you as we continue with the broadcast.
It was great getting hostile phone calls
before you're even on, man. You see what you caused. Now, see, and it surprises me, Mike, a little bit. Put it over on this side, why don't you? It's actually, it looks better that way. Now, what is your standing with the Libertarian Party? What exactly are you...
Well, let's see. I'm a member. I've been a candidate around here. Last November, I ran for Michigan House of Representatives in the 70th District, which is East Lansing, Okemos, and Meridian Township. Let's see. Right now, I'm working on the John Kuhn for U.S. Senate campaign. And I think Don Riegel must have got wind that John was running because Don is already withdrawn.
So it looks like success. How many Libertarians holding office in the country today?
I believe there are 55 holding partisan offices.
What is the platform?
Basically, okay, the platform of the Libertarian Party is basically the platform of the United States of America: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The funny thing is, and the worrisome thing is, that this is now a hard sell in the United States of America to convince Americans to accept liberty. It's like we've forgotten where we came from. We've forgotten what we're doing. And I think conservatives are right in that we're not performing as well as we used to be. But it's because we've gotten away from our roots. We've gotten away from individual liberty and individual responsibility. I think one thing that a lot of people misunderstand is that when you tolerate something, it doesn't mean you're condoning it. It doesn't mean you're encouraging people to do it. I wouldn't encourage people to take cocaine. I understand that's a nasty drug. And actually, some people become psychotic even when they're getting it. So, no, that's not anything I would encourage. But you can't stop it unless you turn the United States into the Soviet Union.
Right.
And thankfully,
even then, they didn't stop it, did they?
No, they didn't. And at least they're gone. I don't want to replace them.
Right.
And good riddance to that mess.
So you notice the same thing I do. That as the Soviet Union becomes Russia, America sort of becomes more and more totalitarian. As Russia is freer, it seems like it almost happened, the pendulum swung right about the same time. And it seems like this country is becoming more and more police state-ish
I think we're seeing
than it ever has been.
Yeah, I think we're seeing, in some ways we're more tolerant than we used to be. I think sexual expression is generally freer than it used to be. But our drug laws are more repressive than they've ever been. We're letting people out of prison, people who've stabbed other people, who've punched other people, who've shot other people. We're letting them out early because there's no room for them because we have marijuana smokers in jail. I mean, you know, what are the priorities of our government?
Yeah, well, look at that kid. What's that guy's name down in Detroit? Good article in Rolling Stone about 3 weeks ago about this kid who was set up by a cop.
Who's now been dismissed because they found cocaine in that cop's bloodstream.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of these. What was that movie about the undercover cops that got addicted to drugs? I mean, this happens.
It was this Gary Fallon. Was that
That's a guy's name. Yeah. And what was he busted with? Now it was a really small amount. I think like
I don't know, half an ounce or something.
Of I think it was marijuana, and it was been given some ridiculous like 200-year sentence or something. The kid is looking at absolutely never getting out of prison. I think he's been in for about 6 years, if I remember correctly. And all because of some stupid little laws that they have here in Michigan that can allow them to nail these guys who really, I mean, the punishment does not fit the crime here. And the Libertarian Party stands for legalization of all drugs? Marijuana? What?
All drugs. Not because we encourage the use of all drugs or any drugs, but because if you make it illegal, you make the conditions under which people continue to use those drugs more humanly destructive. I read a book recently, a book that was got a lot of attention back in the mid-'60s. It was Claude Brown's Man-Child in the Promised Land. Okay, here's a guy who grew up in Harlem who sold drugs for a while. He quit selling drugs when somebody held him up and he would have had to kill them to stay in the drug business, and he just wasn't willing to do that anymore. But anyway, you know, he made it perfectly clear, like, he was watching people he knew, guys he'd grown up with, like, you know, guys he was in kindergarten with, and he was watching these guys get strung out on heroin. And it was pretty clear that the way that they kept their heroin habits going was by holding people up, by committing robberies.
Sure.
And the stuff itself is not that difficult to produce, import, refine. It would be $2-3 a day. But when you make it contraband, it's $200 a day, and then it's causing crime. Like I've heard the figure, 80% of all crime, at least all crime in big cities, is drug-related. It's basically junkies supporting their habits by going after other people.
Right.
I don't want to see anybody ruin their lives with toxins, but if they're going to do it, I don't want to see them dragging anybody else down.
I hear you.
And what we're doing right now is we're putting them in a position where they absolutely must go after other people. So that your conservative caller from a little while ago, I think what he doesn't understand is that the country is beginning to fall apart at the seams now because of our repressive laws concerning drugs and because of our repressive laws concerning economic freedom. By the way, the Libertarian Party doesn't only stand for social liberties. We do, very much so, very consistently, more consistently than anybody else in this country. We also consistently stand for economic liberties. Because just like we have government encroaching on our individual liberty to smoke what we want, drink what we want, do what we want with our friends in the privacy of our own homes, the government is also constantly encroaching on our economic liberty. Boy, the amount of regulation businessmen have to deal with, businesswomen have to deal with, it's incredible. When I got done running for office, I got something from the Federal Elections Commission or from the IRS. If I'd made the mistake of hiring somebody to help me in my campaign, I would have had a stack of paperwork like that.
Now, don't you think, though, that Al Gore is doing some good things to combat some of this bureaucracy and some of this red tape? Or is that just a smokescreen thrown up by the Democratic Party to make it look like they're doing something in the White House?
I think it's a smokescreen.
Yeah.
I think just like the things the Republican Party did was a smokescreen. I think there's really, when you come down to it, there's not that much difference between the Democratic and the Republican parties. And most of what they've done, most of the taxes and the regulations and the oppressive laws that they've burdened the American public with, they've done together.
Mm-hmm.
A few of them have a little firmer principles than the rest of them, so that on anything involving economic encroachment of the government against the American people, a few of the Republicans will oppose, but a lot of them will go along with it, and that way they can get the Democrats to go along with their repressive drug laws.
Yeah. I believe we have a phone call standing by, do we not? Hello, you're on the air with Jazz McKay and the Libertarian guy.
Hey, this is the Exterminator calling.
How you doing, X?
Hey, I had a comment about the Gary Fanning case. The guy that was in Rolling Stone.
Yeah, I read that article here a while back while sitting on the commode doing one of my morning constitutionals.
I hear you.
And it was really disturbing, was it not?
Well, it was disturbing, but look at it this way: this guy's kid is 19 years old. He was under the Michigan 650 lifer. He was sentenced to life in prison for conspiracy to distribute over 650 grams of cocaine.
Right.
And he's sitting there with his bleeding heart mom saying, you know, this was the first time my son's ever done this. Now, Jazz, you're a man of the ways. How hard is it to get 650 grams of cocaine? I mean,
not very, to tell you the truth, if you're dealing with a cop who's trying to set you up.
The cop wasn't trying to set him up. The cop was doing his job. Now,
bullshit! The cop was a drug addict.
The cop was not a drug addict. He tested positive over 2 months after. And besides, these cops have to go through so much crap. I mean, most junkies will not sell to them until they shoot up in front of them or whatever.
So, well, do you think then that Gary's sentence is justified then?
I think Gary Fanning should rot in hell. This guy, what he did was he's contributed or conspiracy to contribute. So he sets the deal up, takes off to Florida, and then says he chickened out. That's bullshit. What he did was he set it up for his friend, took the cash, and took off. And in the U.S., conspiracy is the same as delivery.
I just think that the law all the way around is unjust. I just don't buy it. You know, and I especially don't buy it when a cop set him up. And I know you disagree with me on that point, but we'll leave that and just go on. The fact is, if he was not contacted by this police officer to do this, chances are he wouldn't have done it. So therefore, the police had to have set him up, and I think made him a scapegoat, possibly making an example of him to other people. But what's happened is I think it's come back and bit him in the ass.
Well, you know, you look at it that way, but then again, if it was entrapment, the courts would have found it because the 650 lifer law is being scrutinized so hard now.
Yeah, and
that
the entrapment.
Court's looking at anything to get that annulled by the state house. So, I mean, if it was entrapment, the courts would have found it.
Well, I think it is. I mean, that's just a matter of, I guess, definition of entrapment. But to me, I can watch, and I have nothing but the highest regard for most police agencies, and certainly for the DEA in their struggles. I mean, they're doing their job. That's all. It's the politicians, I think, who are in the wrong here. And we have some archaic, ridiculous laws on the books, and that's certainly one of them. And I think that they're able to do things now. I watched an episode of Cops the other night, and they were out on the street with rock, selling it to people and then busting the people that they sold it to. And I just think that's wrong. I don't give a rat's ass whether the person that they busted could have gone 2 blocks down and bought from a real dealer or not and still be out abusing drugs. That doesn't take any drugs off the street. Not one! Not one stinking drug. The war on drugs doesn't work. It just doesn't work, man.
What does the representative from the Libertarian Party feel about that, about the 650 lifer law in Michigan?
Okay, you mentioned that the police were just doing their job. I think the politicians have given the police the wrong job to do.
Yeah.
The job of the police, let's remember who the police are. The police are people that the citizenry has hired, you and me, and all of us here. We hire the police to protect our property, to protect us from murderers, to protect us from robbers, and to protect us from fraud. Not to protect us from ourselves.
Only those 5 things? That's what police are for?
Well, let's see. You include rape in there. Yeah, and everything else is none of the government's business. We're adults. We will decide how we will live our lives according to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that means exactly what it says. It doesn't mean that we need the police to check up on us for our own morals.
Well,
because, you know, like... Okay, a lot of people have trouble with alcohol. I think it's like something like 1 out of 10 people has trouble metabolizing alcohol in a reasonable manner, and they get in trouble with it, and it brings out, you know, all the bad traits in their personality, and they drive like maniacs. So Let's see, around in the 1890s, around 1900, a lot of people had a real good idea. Let's make alcohol illegal. A lot of people won't hurt themselves. What happened? We financed the underworld in this country. We gave them their initial capitalization. The mafia in this country still exists on the profits they made during Prohibition. People drank more booze then than they did before, they have since. And it became, as soon as it becomes contraband, if you have it, you have a special little social attraction. Boy, this guy's got connections.
Yeah, he's got the good stuff, yeah.
And you tell people that they can't have something, suddenly they want it, even if they didn't want it before. They want it just because you
Now, I
told
want
them
you
they
to
can't have
think
it.
about that, because we're not talking about what you or I feel, okay? We're talking about what Joe Blow down the street feels or what anybody else does. I'm not concerned about so much my feelings about it. I'm concerned with, if this guy wants to destroy himself, okay, and shoot heroin, my feeling is that we should establish, instead of all of these hospitals, these like we got in Diamondale, all these rehab centers. Let's take these rehab centers. Let's turn them into little hotels, and let's have these drug addicts check themselves into these hotels. And over the period of time that they use the drugs, they have to stay there, okay, in these rehab centers, and they have to do their drugs there. That way, they're not out on the street. They're not endangering my life driving around, because that's certainly a concern I think that some people would have. But put them in there. When the drugs are out of their system, they go home, and the drugs would also be probably 1/10 of the price what they're paying on the streets. Therefore, that would eliminate the need for them to have to club my grandmother over the head to steal her goddamn pension money. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if we look at the other alternatives, and that's just one that I recently read, of all places, in Omni magazine. I don't read Discover, I read Omni. And I thought it was a pretty decent idea. Do you guys have, before we get off the drug thing, do you guys have a specific plan in the Libertarian Party in how to legalize drugs and in what form or shape it should be taken?
No, just legalize it. Legalize all of it. And people will find the forms, will find the shapes that are appropriate. I think one thing that's going to happen is instead of having, the problem with drugs now for the drug users, I don't only care about people on the street who aren't using drugs, I do care about the drug users, because those people are hurting. Otherwise, they would not get involved with the drugs as deeply as they do, because they are getting self-destructive. But part of the problem is that a lot of these drugs have been processed by people who don't know what they're doing. I would rather see people use drugs that are of predictable strength, predictable quality, used by the drug companies. Now, big drug companies probably would not want this kind of publicity, so they would spin off, subsidiaries, and the subsidiaries would handle it. At least it would be somebody, trained pharmacologists in producing drugs of predictable strength. Because the thing that kills a lot of drug addicts is not the impurities in the drugs, it's the purity. They may be used to getting 3-4% heroin, suddenly they get 10% because somebody had to get back on the street real quick. And that's what kills them, that's the purity.
Yeah, it's what killed Sid Vicious. He would have stood trial for the murder of Nancy if he had only had legalized drugs. Well, there you go. I'm sorry. Moving right along out of the drugs into other things, before we get to the videotape, which I do want to get to in just a moment, to show another side of the Libertarian Party, at least what some people would perceive to be another political side. Some people, for some reason, think that legalization of drugs comes from the liberal political community, which I really don't think is true at all. If anything, it's probably just the opposite. But something that comes from the conservative ideology, which is the complete and legal ownership of handguns and any kind of firearms of any type. What's the Libertarian Party's stand on the ownership of firearms?
We have the right to own firearms. It's in the Constitution. It's in the Bill of Rights.
Does that include all? We're talking about submachine guns and I mean, obviously the technology today versus what they had back in 1776 when they wrote the Constitution is a little bit different. But do we legalize Uzis and AK-47s? Do we put a cutoff point? Do we give guns freely to convicted felons, for instance? Do we do anything to legislate the distribution of guns?
Well, let's see. Now, somebody who's used a gun against their fellow citizens, that's a different story. I can see that person has done something to justify abrogating their rights. But the rest of us, it is our right. Now, personally, I'm not too interested in guns. I really don't get off of them. I'm more interested in computers. I get that little charge of excitement from a computer.
You get that virtual Valerie out there?
No. I don't know about that one. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'd like to see that sometime.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, but okay, we have guns for several reasons. Like the founders of the Constitution put in the right to bear arms for several reasons. For one thing, it was part of our lifestyle. I mean, a lot of people they live by hunting.
Right.
Partly it was for protection. People needed to protect themselves. Partly it was to protect us from foreign invaders. Like if anybody ever tried to invade this country, not only would they have to deal with the official military forces, they would have to deal with every armed citizen. Like, for instance, in Switzerland, the Swiss are required to own something the equivalent of an AK-47 or an M16.
They're required to?
They're required to.
That's great.
And you want to mess
and you don't mess with the Swiss. I mean,
no, you want to mess with Switzerland, go ahead. And in Nazi Germany, they were thinking of it. They thought better of it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't worth it.
Yeah, that's a good example. I mean, they never get it. The Swiss don't fight. They just sort of hang.
No, they're ready. They're ready.
But they're ready. They're armed and they're ready. The wacko in Waco. Let's talk about that real quick. You brought in some video. As a little contrary, I guess, to what the normal media has been telling us about what happened in Waco, Texas last year.
Well, I think the normal media has been telling us what the government told them. That is, they've been pretty much operating as a mouthpiece for the government. This whole Waco thing seemed so unnecessary, such a waste of human life. A government that's supposed to be protecting human life, because that's the only reason it exists, was destroying it. It is the government has forgotten where it comes from and why it's here, and they do whatever they want.
Yeah, but these guys, they go up there, they tell the guy, hey, you got to come out. He says, fuck you, I'm not coming out, and they stand off for 80 some odd days.
No, he's come out. That guy, what was his name? David Koresh. Okay, he'd been down to, the sheriff's office or something in the county, or a number of times to talk to him about different problems that they'd had. He'd always cooperated with them. And as a matter of fact, what they did by using military force against civilians in violation of U.S. Code Title 18, what they did was they proved the guy right, that he did need guns. By the way, is your religion ATF approved?
I have to find one first.
Okay.
My religion's you, baby. Let's watch this video. Now, this is entitled Waco the Big Lie. And this is done by Linda Thompson. Now, is this being distributed, or how did you get a hold of it?
I first saw this from a friend of mine in the Libertarian Party, and another friend came up with a copy of it, and I borrowed it and brought it to the station tonight. Because a few of these things, a few of the points, she seems to be pushing a little bit where the evidence that you can see on the screen doesn't quite bear up to her
basically,
analysis.
let's tell everybody what we're looking for.
Some of them really, you can really see that what she's showing, like, is one point, a guy, a federal agent, shoots himself in the leg because he has a safety off on his gun. It's like Keystone Cop stuff. Okay, and we can see that. It's very clear.
But basically what they're saying is, in this video, is that the government, that the military torched that house. Wiped all these people out. David Koresh did not start the fire.
No. The government started the fire.
Let's watch the video right now. This is called Waco. It's from Waco, the Big Lie. Check it out.
Full impact of the following scenes, it is important to understand the layout of the Mount Carmel Center. The underground bunkers were not under the house. There was a cement tunnel that ran from a trap door in the end of the house out to two main underground shelters out in the yard, one of which was in front of the water tower. Anyone who was inside either one of the underground bunkers should have been untouched by either fire or smoke. In this picture, this end of the house is where the trap door to the underground bunker was. This film was taken long before 6 a.m. the morning before the fire started. There is a large hole at the base of the building, and the building has already been knocked off its foundation. There is a round hole in the side of the building. What appears to be a large blood splatter is visible on a wall on the other side. Something, perhaps a curtain, flaps from inside the building. Remember, with the sophisticated bugging and surveillance equipment the FBI used, the FBI knew where all of these people were at all times. They could see them and hear them. The underground bunker is in front of the water tower shown here before 6 a.m. This tank was over the tunnel to the underground bunker. For more than 2 hours, a tank is over the underground bunker or at the hole in the corner of the house at the entrance to the tunnel. Each time the tank opens, agents can be seen getting in or out, and the camera filming it conveniently cuts away. At approximately 6:10 a.m., smoke begins pouring from the underground bunker. None of the media mentions the fire in the underground bunker, yet this is when and where the first fire began and where many people lost their lives. The official version of when things began starts here around 6 that morning. There is a flag propped against the door. The flag is not black, and it is not wedged in the door as the media reported. It is a red and blue flag. Whatever it is, it appears to be a flag of a conqueror, not a flag set outside by the Branch Davidians. The first tank that is sent in is a tank retriever. It has no apparatus to insert any kind of gas. It appears at precisely the time the smoke you saw earlier was seen coming from the underground bunker. It is not making so-called small holes to insert gas. It is destroying the end of the house over the trap door that leads from the bunker, making sure that no one inside the now burning bunker can escape. A second hole is made in the side of the building, and a third hole is made at the front door. What these tanks are doing in each picture is collapsing the inside stairwells. The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. Watch carefully as the tank backs out of the house. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible. In the scenes that were shown throughout the country as the location where the fire supposedly started, smoke comes out a second-story window. As flames erupt from the second-story window, watch as a tank appears around the corner. There is an agent on this tank, as if he had just leapt down onto the top of the tank. It is difficult to see the details on a television because the quality is poor, but in the studio, he can be seen removing a fireproof-type hood. Another man is seen on the roof. The FBI claims that this man is a Branch Davidian. However, watch as he jumps from the roof and walks away. The tape quality again is poor when it broadcasts on a television set, but in the studio, while he is on the roof, he appears to take off a jacket. He jumps and lands on his feet. He very calmly walks away. As he walks, he can be seen removing a hood. He also appears to be carrying a rifle in his right hand. As the fire burns, helicopters circle over the center with men pointing guns out of the open doorways. Before, during, and after the fire, none of the agents involved are at all concerned that there could be explosions or bullets in the house. In these next scenes, you can plainly see agents walking in and out near the fire. In any ordinary crime scene, great pains are taken to preserve evidence. Here, tanks methodically push what remains of the house and evidence into the fire. The fire takes less than an hour to burn down the entire center. The fire is still smoldering at 5 that evening as agents walk in and around the fire. It is obvious that there is no genuine concern over the supposed millions of rounds of ammunition. Even though the FBI and the media consistently referred to this cement building as the bunker, the real bunkers were underground, as you were shown earlier. Many of the bodies that were found in the underground bunkers, not in the well house. In one final crude and insensitive display, the ATF raised its flag in victory over the ruins of Mount Carmel before the day was over. One voice was heard that day telling the truth. Brad Branch, a Branch Davidian who had left the Mount Carmel Center before the day of the fire.
Now they're finishing off the job right now. They're destroying the crime scene. America, this is the biggest lie that's ever been put before the American public, ever.
Fascinating stuff there, and it's a completely different angle than what we've seen before.
Yeah, I guess, we're used to believing our government and believing the mass media. Why should we?
I can't think of one reason.
Okay, I came across something recently. It was about the early in World War II, January 1942. The Germans sent U-boats against the east coast of the United States. They sent one along almost to Coney Island, and they sank several boats. And the Navy was like totally asleep. It took them like a half a year to get their act together.
Yeah, what about that?
Okay, this stuff was classified until the dispositions of U-boats on January 16th, which the English were reporting to us daily, was classified until 1985. Why? Because the government didn't want the American public to know that they messed up.
To be afraid that. Well, what about that German sub that they found in, wasn't it Lake Michigan, or
no, the
Lake
one they have
Huron,
in Chicago? Well, they have one in Chicago, but that was captured in, I think, off the coast of Africa.
Really?
Yeah, that was something that they did nicely.
I heard that they had found a German sub here. I don't remember what lake it was in or when it was. Actually, it was probably back when I was doing drugs, folks, and I just, you know how things are, brain fart.
Yeah, we tolerate it, but we don't condone it.
Yeah, that's right. I did want to mention also that the entire 30-minute program that we just saw about 7 minutes worth of here will be broadcast on Bob Glenn's show tomorrow night, which I believe it's 9 o'clock, I think, here on Channel 56, and that would be Bob Glenn Beats the Living Shit Out of Every Liberal in Sight. I believe that's the name of your show, isn't it, Bob? Be watching for it. That's tomorrow night right here on Channel 56. You'll see the entire program, and it's entitled, once again, it's Waco, the Big Lie. And you came across this by way of some guys in your party. And
yeah,
it's
Libertarian Party.
Kind of circulating. And I find it interesting that Bob Glenn, a conservative, also has this same tape in his possession. There is, in my feeling anyway, about the Libertarian Party, a really nice center line. To me, you guys are moderates, and I like that. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's all the best stuff,
You just figured out something that's really important that I think Democrats and Republicans would like people not to understand.
Right.
And that is libertarians are moderates, because like on any position, any kind of activity, I think there's basically 3 positions you can take. You can believe that it should be mandatory, that is, you have to do it whether you want to or not, that it's forbidden, you may not do it even if you want to very much, or it's up to you.
Yeah.
But take responsibility for it. The libertarian position on almost everything is it's up to you, take responsibility for it.
For yourself.
For yourself and your actions.
Take responsibility for yourself. We have a phone call, I think, hanging on, don't we? Let's go to line 1 right now. Hello, you're on the air on the Jazz McKay Show. Yellow! No?
Okay, I'll take this opportunity to tell you that I am a fan of yours, and I used to really enjoy your radio show on MMQ in the mornings.
Yeah, that station. MMQ.
And they made a mistake by letting you go, because they've never been.
That's the biggest. Thank you.
I
That is the biggest major fuck up in radio, next to letting Rich Michaels go VIC. And ironically enough, the same guy let me go that let Rich go. Isn't that odd?
He'll go far.
We do have a phone. Yeah, you know, he's in Buffalo. He's doing a talk show in Buffalo, conservative talk show, as a matter of fact, I understand. I want to do a libertarian talk show on the radio. I really do. If you help me find a job, I'll spew and spout your political isms all over America.
I'll check my connections.
Okay, let's go to the phone. Hello, you're on the air with Jazz McKay.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Who's this?
My name's Joe.
Joe, talk to me.
Yeah, I'm just calling about what you were talking about earlier about legalizing different types of guns and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people are gonna get the guns no matter what, so give them the chance to go buy a permit, and maybe they'll be able to keep track of some of the guns that are out there everywhere instead of just letting them float around. Because they're gonna get them no matter what.
Hey, if you outlaw guns, only outlaws are going to have guns.
Yeah.
I live my life by reading bumper stickers. I'm a big fan of bumper stickers. How do you feel about prostitution?
Well, there could there's something all those people out there who
Do you think
aren't working at all. I mean, hey, they're making some money. That's hey, it's not
the Libertarian Party, correct me if I'm right, does stand for legalized prostitution?
Yeah, we think it should be legalized. It's another thing that we tolerate. We don't necessarily condone
it. But let's face it. I mean, if you were to probably go to all the guys that go to Streetwalkers in Detroit, and then go to all the guys that have gone to the Chicken Ranch in Nevada or one of the other establishments out there, and took say 100 of each and tested them, you'd probably have maybe, I don't know what the percentage would be. Let's say 20% have AIDS who have been boffing hookers on down in Detroit, versus probably nil in Nevada because of all the testing that the girls have to go through.
Yeah.
Again, it's just common sense. I really think that the Libertarian Party is a party based on common sense. And a party based on, you do your thing, I'll do mine. You don't harm me, I won't harm you. You come around here trying to steal my shit, and I'll fuck you up. But you stay home and do your own thing, do your drugs, screw your hookers, and play with your guns in your backyard. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't give a rat's ass what you do.
Or even do some productive, constructive business. But anyway, one of her mottos is live and let live.
Absolutely.
Have you ever been to Amsterdam? Oh, excuse me.
I just had found a really good article today in the paper, and it mentioned those victims of choices cost a lot. And I just thought this would be interesting.
Oh yeah. I saw that.
It's just interesting. I mean, it said something in here about the economic cost on society, that it does cost.
It costs
certain
tremendous
behaviors.
He was talking about, say, something like somebody wants to get out on their Harley, and they want to feel the open road blowing through their hair, and they're going to get, they may get their brains smashed because some people drive rudely around motorcycles. It's not even their fault, but it's dangerous. And he was saying that, well, supposedly that doesn't hurt anyone, but it hurts society. But society has let itself in for it because we take responsibility for what other people do. For instance, when somebody gets into my car, I try to encourage them to wear the seatbelt. I don't throw them out of the car if they don't, but I encourage it because I think it's better for them. And
now, do you do that because it's the law and you get a ticket if you get pulled over? Do you do that because you think it's a safe thing to do as a personal choice, Mike Miller?
I do it because of the law of gravity.
I see.
And of inertia and what happens to people.
Very, very good. It is. It's common sense. I'm not wrong. I'm never wrong.
The person that's in the passenger seat, if they don't have a safety belt on, they get the ticket. Not the person that is in the driver's seat anymore.
Yeah,
anybody dispute that? I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I heard something about that. I think they did change
Cops
that.
always let me go.
That does make
How could a cop ever arrest you? Well, I'd be arresting you left and right if I was a cop.
LPD's waiting
I think it's time
right
for a
now.
strip search there, Kim. We're going to have to take you and do one of them body cavities. Do we have a phone call? Hanging on? No? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I can hear back in there. All right, let's go to the phones. Hello, you're on the air with Jazz McKay.
Yeah, Jazz?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I think that guy is the lowest form of scum ever to hit the Great Lakes.
Okay. And now that we've cleared up things about your mother, let's talk about the man here on my right. Why do you think he's scum? He hung up? What a coward. He can't even take a mother joke, man. Your mama! Your mama raised a wuss. Do you get a lot of that? Do you get a lot of that crap from people?
A little bit. Partly.
But see, you look so clean cut, dude. I mean, they expect it from an asshole like me, but
I'm not even running for office, but like this is how politicians dress.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I think part of the problem has been libertarians. Like, we've had a hard time learning how to communicate with other people. A lot of libertarians so far have tended to be very intelligent people, read a lot, and we haven't been real good at popularizing our message.
Yeah, really, back in the
working on it.
70s and stuff, the libertarians were the guys with the berets and the cigarette holders and reciting poetry and weird wacko kind of shit.
Yeah.
And
Well, we have that. We have we have a lot of libertarians now are people who were in SDS, former Marxists and socialists, liberals. I was liberal. I was maybe just a little bit pink, and then there were libertarians who were like real right-wing conservatives, and then everybody they opened their eyes, got a little more tolerant of other people. Understood things more, understood that the price of having your own liberty is to stop repressing other people. But I would say that the people who used to be leftists, they're more fun to party with.
Yeah, it's funny because down in Texas, when I was growing up, the Libertarian Party, we used to talk we're talking early 70s here, and it was real way political. We'd sit around and drop massive quantities of LSD and drink Boone's Farm apple wine and talk political philosophy. Okay, and the subject would come up, depending on who was at the party and whatnot. Subject would always come up, politics, always come up libertarian. And depending on who's at the party would determine whether or not libertarians were good or bad, or well, they were always bad, but either they were commies or they were Nazis.
Yeah.
One or the other. Oh, they're just a bunch of damn communists. Just a bunch of goddamn Nazi communists is what they are.
Well,
we are talking Texas.
Yeah, Nazis and communists are not. Oh, I should have brought some graphic stuff. The Nolan chart. Okay. We'll do it this way, by hand signals. We'll do semaphore. Okay, usually, people talk about the political spectrum, left to right. Okay, I got a question for you. Was Brezhnev further to the right or further to the left of Gorbachev? Well, he's more of a communist, so he's
further
more
to the left, but
he's more of a conservative.
So he's further to the right.
All right. In other words,
it's one of those great questions you can't answer, man.
Yeah, in other words, we got a problem with the language here. That is, the language doesn't explain the
communism
concept.
It's an economic form of government, or it's based on economics and
but socially very repressive.
Yeah,
hey, they had an art show in Moscow. It was an unauthorized art show. I think it was in 1970. Just people started putting up paintings, and it was abstracts, and abstracts were not officially accepted. The KGB came out with bulldozers. They ran over people's paintings.
Real dangerous paintings, weren't they? Real danger there, boy.
Decadent bourgeois paintings.
Going to turn everybody into a bunch of capitalists. Let's go to the phone. I think we have a phone call standing by. I want to get, because we're running short of time as always. We need an hour and a half shows already. Let's go to line 2. Hello.
Hello.
What's up, man?
Yeah, well, now that we're talking about politics, have you ever heard of Jello Biafra's spoken word tapes?
I have not heard any Jello Biafra in quite a while. I partied with Jello a little bit back in, would have been 83 or 84. The Dead Kennedys were still together, and he was still with them. And his way of thinking, extremely left-wing, at least at that time. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I just kind of thought that his tapes were funny and scary at the same time. The spoken word tapes.
Yeah, he has a sense of humor, much like Henry Rollins. It's kind of warped and out there, but when you really analyze it, there's some pretty funny shit going on.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks for calling, buddy.
All right, bye.
All right, take care of yourself. See ya. Anyway, we got to wrap things up real quick. Now, if anybody would like information on the Libertarian Party, what can we do? Who do we contact for? Are you guys in the Yellow Pages?
Yeah.
Under left-wing, right-wingers?
No, under Libertarian Party of Michigan. You can call 1-800-343-1364. That's our answering service, but they'll send you a packet of information. Or you can call me. My name is Mike Miller. I'm at 351-0514. Please, no crank calls. Also, usually don't call after 10 because I have an early job.
Okay.
I'd be glad to talk to anybody in the community about politics, send you literature, have a beer with you, and talk about stuff.
I want to thank you for coming on. Mike Miller, ladies and gentlemen. Before we go, I just want to remind everybody that you got to make decisions for yourself. You can't ask and you can't expect other people to live your life for you. All the Libertarian Party is asking you to do is to take responsibility for your own lives and the raising of your own children. Don't ban my favorite videos off MTV because you think your kids are going to go to hell for watching them. You just tell your kids not to watch them. That's your responsibility. Don't tell me I can't smoke a joint because you know some guy who knows some guy that went absolutely nuts last week on a joint and ran over 3 old ladies standing in line to see Home Alone 2. Okay? The point is, think for yourself, be your own man, be your own woman, do your own thing, and don't inflict your views on me unless I ask you. And I'll be asking you next week at this same time. We'll see you. Until then, remember, ladies and gentlemen, eat it every day. Good night, everybody. Thanks a lot.